With College SportsCast, and we are presented by the Fanboys. All right, guys, welcome in. It's Brad with College SportsCast, and as of right now, I might be doing this as a solo show. So just bear with me, and we'll get through this. John Roberts might join me here in a little bit. He messaged me a little bit ago and said he had something kind of pop up, but that he might be able to come in after about 20, 30 minutes. So he might pop in for us. I'm not real sure. I'm kind of hoping he does. Going to do some baseball stuff. I was going to open the show with that, with John Roberts, because he's kind of my baseball guru. So, but now I think I'm going to hold off on that. But anyways, welcome to College SportsCast. I am at Bluegrass Brad's. That's where I run this business. And we are a sponsor now of College SportsCast and the Fanboys. So you can come get you an Angus beef burger or an ice cream cone or a snow cone. Right up here, we've got strawberry shortcake or mango tango. You know, they're tasty. That's all I'm going to say. All right, so we'll get to some stuff here for you guys. I'm going to open the show with talking about one of our try to get one of these up on the screen for you guys. Hang on just a minute. I thought these were added to the list, but they are not, so that's what I'm doing now. Live on the air. Oops, my bad. Hey, there we go. All right, so first one I'll pop up here is our True Victory. Please check out our True Victory. It's going to pop up there to the right of the screen on me there. And our True Victory is a veteran-owned, first responder-owned sportswear. And you can go online, do some shopping there. They got some really cool stuff. I got a new shirt. A couple of the Fanboys guys got some new stuff. You can pick your team colors, and it's got True Victory and Are You True? And Paul Skeens, who is a star LSU pitcher, is a brand ambassador for them, and they have a whole collection of his stuff, along with a few other softball star and another baseball guy. Check them out. You can scan that QR code at the right of the screen. It'll go right to the shop, and when you go to the checkout part, put in our promo code, the Fanboys, for a 15% discount. Get you 15% off, and if you spend over $99, you get free shipping. So you can't beat that. One last thing I'll tell you about it. They have a digital gift card. Father's Day is coming up. You don't even have to ship it anywhere or anything like that. You can just give him the code, and he can use his digital gift card and buy whatever he wants for Father's Day. Be pretty cool idea. And you get 15% off of it. So they got a $10 one, a $25 one, a $50 one, or a $100 one. And you can get 15% off. So Not a bad deal. All right, guys. So I'm going to open the show since I'm doing this by myself. I'm going to open the show. I was going to close the show with this. But since John's not here and he might show up later, I'm just going to go ahead and open the show with the current state of Kentucky basketball. So I am watching just like everybody else as a fan, but also dabbing into the media world as well. I just rushed to put out an SEC article, and I'll get to that here in a few minutes too. But I want to start out the show with the Kentucky basketball stuff. So Kentucky basketball has a July foreign trip that they're going to take. They have been invited by Canada to be part of a Team USA thing, and there's a Team Canada and a couple of other countries that are coming. Mexico, I think, is one or something. Anyway, there's a couple of other countries that is coming as well. Kentucky is the Team USA thing. It starts July 12th. They will be practice for this at least 2 weeks in advance. There always is for these summer foreign trips. So we're looking at a month away at best. 4 weeks. Kentucky has a roster of 7 scholarship players. And I guess what's most concerning, so I was going to go through some of the NBA decisions. So yesterday was the deadline for the NBA draft decisions, whether you're going to stay in the draft or return to school. Over the last 2 or 3 days, it is unbelievable the amount of kids who are returning to schools, returning to their school. There's a few in the transfer portal. I'm going to say 6, 8 or so of these kids that were declared for the draft that actually was in the transfer portal. And there's going to be a few of these kids that you can pick up in the transfer portal. Well, I'll get to that in a minute. But so most of these schools are getting players back. I mean, you look around the country and just in the SEC, Arkansas is, and Mississippi is, and LSU is, and Alabama is, and Tennessee is. And, so, I mean, you look around the entire country, and I mean, it's everywhere. I mean, UConn is, and Villanova is, and I mean, it is all over the country. Creighton is getting a couple of big guys back. San Diego State's getting a guy back. I mean, just about every team across the country, it seems, is getting a return player back into their system to play again. Kentucky's having trouble with that, guys. And I'm not here to tell you that the sky is completely fallen. I'm not telling you that. But there is some clear writings on the wall, and Cal is having a very hard time correcting them. Over the last 3 or 4 years, there's been a huge difference in the amount of players that are wanting to come to Kentucky, especially current college players. He still has a great freshman class coming in. There's 5 of them, and we got 2 kids back. 8 are confirmed leaving, and Reeves might transfer too. That would be 9 that is going to leave our program. 9 kids. Which We have a clear problem that these kids don't want to come back and play for Kentucky. Reeves is claiming that he wants to make sure that his role and he's going to have enough playing time in NIL. He's at Kentucky. Kentucky shouldn't have to worry about the NIL stuff. And on top of that, he just finished a season where he was the second leading scorer on the team. There's only 7 scholarship players. 2 of them he played in front of last year. Probably had the second or third most minutes. And he's worried about his role and his playing time? Something's not right with that picture. Same thing happened last year. We had Bryce Hopkins, who was ahead of Lance Ware, would have played ball, had a good season at UK, was lined up to be a player, would have probably played in front of Chris Livingston, to be honest with you. Chris Livingston only averaged 6.2 points a game. Bryce Hopkins would have been that or better. Absolutely, at Kentucky. He probably would have played in front of him. Door was wide open. Guess what? Bryce Hopkins, after being here for 1 year, didn't want to be here. He wanted to go somewhere else. Brooks, Keon Brooks, he said, I've had enough. Can't get nothing done. He was a starter, starting 4. Decided, nah, I've had enough. I'm not going to deal with it. And he wants to get out of Kentucky. Antonio Reeves says, we've been transferred here a year, and you know what? I really want to make sure that my role's okay. What? This is Kentucky, guys. We shouldn't have these issues. These kids they're pouring in to Arizona, to Arkansas, to Alabama, to Villanova, to UConn, St. John's, even with Patino. Go look around the country. Kids are pouring in. Arizona's pulling off top transfers after top transfers. And Tommy Lloyd's got some players. I'm just telling y'all, there is a clear and present danger going on in the Kentucky program. It's been going on for a few years. And right this minute, June 1st, the day after the NBA draft deadline, college deadline, you have to sit here and you have to wonder, what's this roster going to look like? How many kids are we going to have that are even going to be able to make this trip the 1st of July to practice and make this trip? We're just a few weeks away. And we should be preparing for the season. That's what this summer foreign trips and stuff is for. Calipari has a huge problem, and he's not been able to fix it over the last 3 or 4 years. And I'm just letting you guys know that something has to be done. Matter of fact, the writing's on the wall. If something doesn't change fairly soon, I think we're going to see a change at the top of Kentucky's program, just to be honest with you. I just don't see how, at this point, I don't see how we could not. This is Kentucky. We are Kentucky basketball. Kids don't pour into Arizona and Villanova over top of Kentucky. That's not normal. Maybe Duke, maybe Kansas, maybe North Carolina. Yes, times changed a little bit, but it ain't changed that much. You go look at Duke and Kansas and see if they're still getting kids. Kansas just landed Hunter Dickinson. Kentucky has an issue. Kentucky has a problem. Calipari needs to somehow figure out a way to fix it, or the state of Kentucky and the Commonwealth and the university is going to have to make a change. Matter of fact, today, Mitch Barnhart come out in one of those famous "I'm backing my guy up" statements. That's how bad it's getting, and it doesn't look good. Those are those statements where you're like, that's that, famous "I'm backing my guy," wink, wink, But and that's what it looked like. That's what it reminded me of. So, anyways, that's where we're at, and with Kentucky basketball, and we don't have hardly any of the amount of players that a team needs. We've battled injuries for the last 3-4 years, and we have no room for injuries whatsoever, period, none. And basically going to have zero bench, which is the way Calipari likes it. Beginning to wonder if it's not planned for him to only have 7 players. That's all he wants to play anyway. But, which is ridiculous. Completely ridiculous. But anyways, hopefully we'll see a change and we'll see a difference. And Kentucky can land. I wrote an article. Arthur from Creighton, Kaluma, and Grant Nelson withdrew, just like I said I thought they would, from the NBA draft, and they're in the transfer portal, and they are available. And Kentucky better be getting off their ass and landing these kids from Creighton and North Dakota State. Nothing wrong with their programs, not saying that, but kids like that ought to just die to have Kentucky come calling. If they're not, again, we have an issue, a clear issue. 100%. Antonio Reeves, you're at Kentucky. You should not have to worry about your playing time when you're coming off of a season where you averaged the second most points on the team. That shouldn't be a thing. All right, guys. I'm going to switch to something else, but I had to have a little bit of a rant here on Kentucky. There's been a lot of talk about stuff. So I have my True Victory up on the screen. Check them out. Scan that QR code to the right of the screen. All you have to do is scan it. It'll take you right to the online shop. You can choose men's, women's, accessories. They have lots of different stuff there for you to look at and for you to choose and shop with. And when you get to the checkout, put in the Fanboys for a 15% discount. Now, the SEC meetings were this week, and I think they concluded today. And just a couple of hours ago in Miramar, Florida, Miramar Beach, and at the end of it, they announced a schedule, and I just rushed to get a story out for Stadium Rant, and it is live. Go to Stadium Rant, check out my SEC schedule for 2024 article. It was just announced a couple of hours ago. They are keeping an 8-game schedule and doing away with divisions for 2024. It is a 1-year deal that they have agreed on because originally Texas and Oklahoma wasn't supposed to come to 25. They are now coming in 2024, a year early. Most of the SEC schools had already committed money to a lot of these other non-conference schools to fill their schedule, and almost all of them had their 2024 4 teams non-conference schedules filled up. So they're going to keep that schedule for at least a year. The 8-game schedule is supposed to be 1 permanent rival and then 7 and 7 in non-divisions. You're going to break up the rest of the 14, and your team will play 7 one year and 7 the next. So you still are going to rotate and play each team at home and away in 4 years. So that's the way that the 8-game schedule is supposed to work. Now, what they're going to do is they're going to put this schedule together. They're actually announced that they are going to have a reveal show on SEC Network, June 14th, by the way, in prime time. So check it out, June 14th in prime time. They are going to reveal the 2024 schedule, the 2 teams versus each other. There won't be dates and there won't be times, but they're going to reveal who is playing who. And they're going to make a big deal out of it because Texas and Oklahoma is going to be included. There's 16 teams, and it's June 14th. It's supposed to be in prime time. My guess is it'll be 7, 8 o'clock. I didn't see a time yet, but they did announce a reveal show for their schedule, and it's in 13 days. June 14th is when it is. And they're going to make a big deal out of it. And check out my Stadium Rant article. Please go to Stadium Rant. Check out college sports or SEC articles. I write college sports articles, so you can go to the college sports tab, and everything that I write is going to be under there. I either write college sports articles, SEC articles, or Kentucky articles. Big Blue Nation, I'm writing some of those as well. So I rushed to get this one out today. So check it out. The SEC is keeping an 8-game schedule for 2024. And then they're going to re-examine. Another thing is 2024 is the new expanded playoffs. They want to kind of see what how that's going to play out for the SEC. And if playing an extra game is going to help knock out a couple of teams. I think they're kind of worried about that as well. So extending this out 1 year, I really and truthfully, I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't extend this out for 2 years. That's not what was announced today, guys. That is my thinking. That's how I've been thinking that will happen. This was supposed to be a 7. You play 1 rival and then 7 the next year. Then you're going to swap home and aways every other year. with these teams. And my guess is they would do that at least 2 years. So you could play each team before they went and changed anything up. That'd be my guess, but I don't know that for sure. Right now, it is set just for 2024. That's what they voted on today. And they also done the reveal show June 14th in prime time on SEC Network. So that's going to be kind of fun. Everybody should want to tune into that and just find out what the new SEC is going to look like. That's what I say. Excuse me. Everybody's going to want to know what that is going to look like. I believe with the new SEC, basically. So, that's what we've got here is the new SEC. All right. So from here, guys, I'm going to go and talk about the Real Fresh channel with Howie. We are on Sunday nights when we do our Sunday night shows. We've been taking a little break from holidays and Easter and Mother's Day and Memorial Day and Father's Day is coming up. And so we've been taking a little bit of break on our Sunday shows, but Howie's got lots of stuff on his channel. I'll let him kind of tell you about it. And here we go.
Hey, I am Hal Fresh here to tell you about the Real Fresh channel. That's right, youtube.com/the Real Fresh channel. We are a network aiming to bring you various content each and every day, different types of podcasts, different type of content, anything from college sportcast and fresh takes for some sports. We also got You Want to Do What? We got the Wrestling Corner. We got live stream. Just go over to youtube.com/the Real Fresh channel and hit us up today. Thank you for checking it out. Appreciate your time.
All right, guys. That was Howie Fresh from the Real Fresh channel. And he is part of the Fanboys and Let's Talk Sports and Sideline Sports as well, which is another thing that I need to talk about real quick. So we are now part of Sideline Sports, and that's because we are featured on Let's Talk Sports, and they just had a little merger joining Sideline Sports. There is a new channel that you can watch. There's going to be up to like 200 podcasts, just like myself, with College SportsCast. That is all sports shows. I mean, anything and everything you can imagine. I mean, from New York teams to LA teams to Toronto Maple Leafs and hockey and wrestling, and I mean anything and everything that you can think of. There's going to be, I mean, of course, NFL and NBA and NHL and Major League Baseball and all kinds of college sports as well. They'll be on there, so check them out. They also have YouTube pages. You can check them out. But I was trying to see here real quick if I can give you guys strim.com. STRIMM.com. Sideline Sports. And it's going to be a 24/7 channel. And you can catch all of these shows and podcasts, and they're going to run constantly 24/7. Once we get the channel up and running, it did start today, June 1st, it started actually today, this channel. And I think they got it loaded up for today from like 3 in the morning till like midnight tonight, the very first day. Eventually, it's going to run 24/7. And I'm sure they're loading up more today. So, but I wanted to put that out there that's something new and exciting that we are doing here at College SportsCast and being a part of. So I wanted to talk about that, bring that up for you guys. And then we're going to get to some NBA college draft decisions that happened. And I will talk about some of this stuff. And this is part of the reason why I was talking about Kentucky stuff earlier, is because it seemed like every team in the country got players back except for Kentucky. Oscar Tshiebwe staying in the draft. Chris Livingston staying in the draft. Livingston's not a surprise at all. Oscar kind of is. I thought he was 50-50, somewhere in that range, that he might stay, he might go. I wasn't real sure. But he did not. He's electing to stay in the draft. So I'm going to try to get to some of this. All right. So Tyron Lawrence, who announced yesterday that he is coming back to college, was in the transfer portal. And instead of transferring, he announced today that he is going back to and returning to Vanderbilt. So that's actually another SEC team that is getting a return player. He was in the transfer portal. He announced yesterday he's staying in the draft. And then today he announced that he is returning to Vanderbilt. So there's a bit of a news there today. DePaul had somebody staying in the draft last night late. He was one of the last ones. But late last night, he opted to stay. Nick Ongenda is what it looks like his last name is. But he was one of the last ones last night. Damian Ball from TCU decided to stay in the draft last night. He was a late decidee right before midnight. Dylan Mitchell withdrew his name from the NBA draft and is returning to Texas. It's big news because he was actually projected as a first-round pick. Dylan Mitchell was, according to Jonathan Givony, who is an NBA Draft Express guy. So according to him, that's what he does. So he was projected as a first-rounder. Armand Franklin from Virginia is just staying in the draft. They did get Beckman back, Beckman, whatever his name is. I'll have to look it up here in a minute. But they did get him back. Jordan Walsh from Arkansas is staying in the draft last night. Chase Audich from Northwestern is staying in the draft. Coleman Hawkins is going to return to Illinois. Yuri Collins from St. Louis is staying in the the NBA draft this time. Zach Edey is coming back to Purdue. Huge player of the year. Oscar done it last year and returned, and then this will be the second year in a row that the player of the year has returned to college basketball. So, look for them to really be a good team with Zach Edey back in Purdue. Anton Watson is coming back to Gonzaga, returning to Gonzaga, which is huge news for Mark Few and Gonzaga. Judah Mintz is returning to Syracuse. Devontae Davis is returning to Arkansas. Huge for them. Like I said, Chris Livingston's staying in the draft. Trey Alexander is returning to Creighton. You put that with and it's big news for Creighton. Trying to think, Kalkbrenner is returning as well. So they have two big-time guys that are returning, and they're going to be a really, really solid team in the Big East next year, even with the departure of Kalua and Nimhard. So, they lost a couple of guys, but they're getting some really key guys back. And so they're going to be tough. Deron Holmes is returning to Dayton. Andre Jackson Jr. from UConn is staying in the draft. He is listed as the number 32nd pick in ESPN's latest mock draft. Villanova's Hakeem Hart is returning to school. He is a transfer from Maryland, but he's going to Villanova. Illinois' Terrence Shannon Jr. is returning to Illinois. Big-time Big Ten news. Gives them a top-notch player, potential, All-American, first, second, third team All-American. Terrence Shannon Jr. is next year. Gonzaga's Malachi Smith is staying in the draft. Here's Virginia. Virginia's Reese Beekman is returning to school. He's a great defensive player, probably one of the best defensive players in the nation. Nebraska's Tominga is returning to school. It's huge news for them. Auburn's Dylan Cardwell is returning to school next year for them. They also got Johnny Broome the day before. Jaden Clark from UCLA is staying in the draft. Georgia Tech's Miles Kelly is returning to school. Tulane Sion James is returning to school. Jamal Sheed from Houston is returning to school. Oscar Shibwe is not returning to school. Auburn's Jalen Williams is returning to school. Villanova's T.J. Bamba is withdrawing and returning to school. Florida Atlantic got two back. Two guards, John L. Davis and Elijah Martin. They are catalyst for that FAU team that made it to the Final Four this past year. Expect to see FAU possibly a top 5 team preseason. That's how good these two guards are. They were in the draft. They are both coming back. It is huge news for Dusty May at Florida Atlantic to get these two kids back. I think they were both juniors, or they'll be juniors. But that is an absolute stunner to get both of those kids back. Tennessee's Julian Phillips is staying in the draft. Utah's Brendan Carlson is returning to school. Rutgers' Cliff Amayuri tells me is returning to school, withdrawing and returning to school. It's big news for Rutgers, who had a pretty decent season in the Big Ten, and getting a solid piece back to have a good team for Rutgers next year in college basketball. That's what I'm saying. So you go through all this. North Carolina got Cormac Ryan back. TCU got Damian Ball back. TCU also picked up a Kansas transfer big guy, Ernest Uday. They picked up a commitment from him yesterday as well. Tristan De Silvas is going to return to school in the Pac-12. Matty Trayor from New Mexico State is returning and transferring to Maryland. Josiah Jordan James is returning to Tennessee. Pretty big news for them. Bona, the big guy from UCLA, is returning to UCLA. Significant news. He's one of the leading shot blockers, one of the best defensive or down low defensive players, rim protectors. Definite candidate to be a defensive player of the year type deal. Bona is Adam, I'm not sure how he pronounces it, but returning to UCLA, it's very significant news for them. Michigan State's A.J. Hoggard is returning to school. Look for Michigan State to be improved. They're also getting Jaden Atkins back, getting two guys back. Tyler Burton, who he's returning. He's a Richmond. He played at Richmond, and he is returning, but he is transferring to Villanova. He announced that he is transferring to Villanova. So Villanova gets another one coming back. Hey, guys, John is going to join me here. So look at here.
What's up? What's up?
I got John Roberts on with me.
What's happening?
All right. Hey, man. Nothing, man. I've been doing a solo show here real quick, but I told everybody you might stop in. So I saved the baseball stuff just for you in case you jumped on with me. I kind of
Right.
done this backwards. I was going to open with baseball because I thought you would be here, and then I was going to get into some other stuff, but I kind of reversed it all. And now I'm doing the other stuff, and I'll finish this up, and then I save the baseball stuff. So,
All right.
does that sound good?
Sounds great.
I figured you'd like that. So, all right. So, talking about Villanova real quick, they got TJ Mamba back. They got Hakeem Hart back. They got Tyler Burton back to college, who played at Richmond, that is transferring in for another year to go with some guys that they had. Villanova, Neptune is not doing a bad job in his second year. He put together a decent run towards the end of the season last year, and they crashed a few parties there towards the end of the season and nearly made the NCAA tournament. Villanova did. And now he's getting players back and returning and getting some transfers in. And like I said at the top of the show, there are some teams, and Villanova is one of them, that is getting players. Arizona is another one I said. And you look them up, they're getting Jaden Bradley from Alabama. 2 days ago, Caleb Love from North Carolina announced there. They're getting Keyshawn Johnson, a top guy from San Diego State. They 3 top transfers at Arizona, okay? And Kentucky can't seem to get anybody want to come to their school. There's something wrong with that picture. And I started with that. I'm not going to go all the way back into it. But what I'm telling you is all around the country, college basketball and the landscape has changed. I know that 5 or 6 years ago, people was saying, oh, well, college basketball has changed and the guys don't stick around like that no more and blah, blah, blah. And you have to be able to, replace guys and stuff. That's not where we are anymore. With the NIL and the transfer rules, you can clearly see, I have went through this on the show before, and I'm going through this now with you guys. All the guys and all the teams that are getting players to come back. In the SEC alone, I in the last 2 shows, I have named nearly every SEC school, from Vandy to Auburn, to Alabama, to LSU, to Mississippi, to Tennessee, you can just go down the list. Georgia had a guy come back. You can go down the list, and there's one name that's missing. I'm telling you, it's completely missing. And I'll touch on it real quick, and then I'll leave this alone. When Antonio, who is the second leading scorer on your team, who just transferred in, withdraws from the draft yesterday and then says, I'm not so sure yet. I want to check on my role with the team and check on my playing time. On a team that only has 7 scholarship players, 2 of which he played in front of last year, and he's worried about his role on the team, something's not right at Kentucky. When a guy like that is worried about playing time, something's not right. That's all I'm going to say. You got all these other teams and all these other basketball schools that are bringing guys back. UCLA's getting Bona back. Arizona's filling up their roster. Like I said, you just go down. UConn got players back. Creighton got players back. You can go the list. And college basketball is looking great. I love where college basketball is. Sorry, I've got some ambulance going by here. But so I love where college basketball is. It's not in the place it was 5 or 6 years ago. 5 or 6 years ago, all these kids, they would come in and they couldn't wait to get to the pros to make money. That's not where it is anymore. I love where college basketball itself is. You got so many of these kids that are coming back to play ball. And you've got sophomores, and you've got juniors, and you've got seniors, and you've even got grad transfers. And you've got such a better game right now. Except Kentucky seems to be out to lunch when it comes to this. They're not getting it. And something's off. Something's wrong. And I'll just leave it at that. I opened the show with what I thought would happen. But, you know, John, you're on with me now. It don't have to just be me talking. So, I mean, what do you think? I mean, there's definitely college basketball itself. The landscape has changed, right?
Correct.
Over the last, 3 or 4 years.
Right. And I mean, with NIL, it is like with any sport, you're going to be able to keep some of these players in, because the whole point with some of these things with NIL, I mean, like what was happening before was that if they weren't going pro right out of school, I mean, like if they weren't going to the NBA, they were going to the G League or the D League or whatever you want to call the league that's there. They were going to that because that was going to pay them. They were going to play and they were going to get paid.
Or some of the best kids went overseas for a year or two.
Right. And then you had some that went overseas.
Yeah.
Now that you have the NIL, you should have players that come and come to college, but not only come to college, but stay in college. Now, some of that is now going to cause a different effect. Now you're going to get some of those older players that just don't leave. And now you don't have enough room on rosters. So now you've got to have this spreading out of all the rosters. So you'll see a lot of transfers and everything like that, but you'll see the talent will get spread out amongst all the teams.
I mean, I understand you're going to see some transfers. I'm not saying, but when you see transfers, you all should be able to land transfers as well.
Right.
I mean,
as I was saying, I mean, like you're going to get a buildup of talent because you're going to have some of the older people that should have left or that would have left under the old ways of things, whether, getting pushed out or being able to make it to where they went and played overseas or something like that. They didn't necessarily have to go to the NBA, but you're going to see a lot of people that would have tested the waters for the NBA that stick around. And that's where you're going to get just kind of this, kind of backlog of talent, because you're going to get all these new freshmen coming in, but you're not going to have these like sophomores and juniors that you thought would be out of there. They're all going to stay. Yeah. And so at least stay in college basketball, not necessarily stay with your team or whatever team that they were on. But they're going to stay in college basketball. So you ought to see this, just this talent surge in college
and it's
basketball.
Happening. That's what I was talking about. It's exciting
talent
actually for college basketball. I mean, it's happening. You see teams like Creighton and Florida Atlantic and UAB, was part of it this past year. And what was the other one that was down there with UAB that was –
talking about North Texas?
North Texas. And I mean, you're talking about these teams that, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, they're not making those kind of runs with those type of players.
Well, UAB made a run 15 years ago, but
that was what I'm saying.
That was a run. That was with Anderson as the coach.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that it would never happen, but
right.
You're not
I know what
you're not seeing a bunch of them at the same time together in one season. You know what I mean?
An entire conference, right?
Right.
An entire
Yeah.
the Conference USA just make a run on every tournament.
Basically, the entire Conference USA looks like they're one of the best teams or best conferences in college basketball
Because
at the end of the season.
On every conference tournament.
Yeah.
As far
You
as
know, and I, don't get me wrong, 15-10 ago, would one team possibly, do that? One or two teams across the entire country? Yes. But what I'm saying is you are seeing an influx of talent across the board.
Yep.
In college basketball.
Yep. And it's happening in baseball too.
And Kentucky is falling behind in that. Mainly because even when we have gotten transfers in, they only want to be here 1 year because it seems like that's what kind of coach we have.
Right. I mean, but before
it
was get as many 5-star one and dones that you can get. Coach Calipari's gift was that he could take 5 prima donnas and turn them into one team by the end of the year.
And he was great at it.
That was the whole. That was.
And he was great at it when that was what college basketball was.
Right. Now, you don't necessarily need that because people are sticking around a little longer. You're not one and done anymore.
So now we've got 5 bona fide great freshmen coming in. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
They are. I'm not going to. The class he has may be one of the best classes that he has ever gotten at Kentucky. Okay. And he's gotten some great ones. With John Wall and that bunch and Cousins and the 2012 with Davis and the 15 team, he's gotten some really good classes. Malik Monk in 17 and Fox that come in together and Bam. He's gotten some really good classes. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The one coming in is great, but you look around the landscape of college basketball. And you've got players like Bona coming back, and you've got players like the big guy coming back from to UConn, and you've got 2 big time people coming back to Creighton, and Trey Alexander, and you've got Johnny Broome coming back to Auburn, and you've got Alabama, you've got Quinterly coming back to Alabama. You've got Sears coming back to Alabama. You've got, when you look, these are just some of them. You look around the landscape of college basketball, and there is talent and experience everywhere.
You're about, as you're alluding to, you're about to just gain a ton more experience with what's happening because everybody's sticking around.
Yep.
So.
And then here's Kentucky with 5 talented freshmen, but the landscape's not quite what it was 7 years ago.
Right.
And the talent pool around the country is a lot deeper now than what it used to be.
Right.
So when you go to Villanova to play at Villanova, it's a challenge. You know what I mean? If you go to Creighton to play at Creighton, it's a challenge. If you go to play San Diego State or St. Mary's or New Mexico, or it don't have to be these big schools. It could be the UABs and the New Mexicos and because they have talent too.
Right. Yep.
That's where college basketball is. So all these Kentucky fans that are like, well, that's what college basketball is nowadays. And they're still talking about the way college basketball was 5 years ago. And that's not the way college basketball is anymore. Now there's a great influx of talents everywhere. And Kentucky is being behind. I'm just telling you. All right. We will move on from that because I know that's not exactly why you wanted to be on the move. I know one of the reasons why you wanted to be on the show, so we'll kind of get to some of that. So the True Victory thing has been up on the screen. I'm also going to put up our swag on the screen here, and our official merch page there. You can scan that code. It'll take straight to our official merch page. And while you are watching, you can use our code WatchCSCast for a 15% discount. There are 8 or 10 shirts to choose from our own logo to a basketball logo to a football logo, baseball, volleyball, soccer, different sports there, as well as mugs, coffee mugs there. But you can pick stuff when you go to the checkout. Use our code WatchCSCast. Again, to the screen, just scan the QR. It'll take you right. So while we're talking about college baseball here, I'll have this up on the screen. So the next thing we're going to go to is tomorrow, college baseball tournaments start, and the region sites are set, and the field of 64 is set. I actually really kind of like the way baseball sets up the field of 64.
Yeah.
I kind of like it, man. I really do. Listen, I've never paid attention. I told you I've not paid attention to baseball a whole lot.
Right.
So I'm learning stuff this year. I'm actually paying attention to some stuff. It's got me into some stuff. And I was like, you know what? I really kind of like the setup that they have for the field of 64.
Is it because your team is actually a host site?
No, it's just I like the way they have the 4-team host sites, and they're sectioned off, and you get a number 1 seed. You got
Right.
1, 2, 3, and 4. I like that setup. It's actually really neat to think that you play first round home playoff games and stuff.
Even second round ones too. If you,
I know you get them in the second round too in the baseball, but it's really neat to think about. Especially baseball is a different crowd, different. It's outdoors. It's summertime. It's hot. People are, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
It's just a different atmosphere. You can't really do that in the wintertime when it's cold with basketball and that kind of stuff. But so it's a fun atmosphere, and I really kind of like the setup. Just thought I'd throw that out there while you're with me.
Yep.
So I don't know about you, but I kind of wanted to just kind of go through each host site and the teams that are in it.
That's cool.
And then we'll kind of give our thoughts on who will probably come out of that region.
Okay.
Is that cool?
That's cool. Let's do it.
All right. So the number 1 team overall was Wake Forest.
Correct.
They're playing George Mason, who is the 4 seed in theirs. And then they get Maryland and Northeastern as the 2 and 3.
Right.
In their host site in their region. Wake Forest is overtaken LSU and every other team to get number 1 spot. Have had a really great season, and I just don't really see another team challenging them. I know Maryland is in there. They are an ACC team, so I'm sure they have played this year.
So one of Maryland's Big Ten, is that not?
Oh, that's right. They're Big Ten now.
Yeah.
Still, yeah, they used to be.
All right. So anyway,
ACC. I'm sorry.
Wake Forest being the number one.
I think of them as
seed,
ACC.
Wake Forest being the number one overall seed in the tournament. Do you know how many times the number one overall seed has won it since 1999, going to this format with the regionals and super regionals?
You showed me a little bit. Was it 13?
That's how many times. Well, 14 is how many times the number one overall seed has made it to Omaha.
Made it to Omaha.
Right.
Okay.
But how many times
no,
have they actually won the whole thing?
Probably like 3.
One. It happened the first year. 1999, Miami. One time. The number one seed overall did it.
Yeah, I wasn't really talking about the whole thing here. I was just talking about winning that region, their region.
But I'm saying the number one seed overall has only won the whole thing one time. So now one seeds generally win their region because over that span, 17 times has a one seed, made it to Omaha, coming in or whatever. Like, yeah, there's a whole.
So that's two. That's a region and super region. Yeah.
Yeah, coming all the way out. Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, the way that it is on the top 8 seeds, they're usually listed as national seeds. Now, they've expanded the national seeds in the last couple of years to be the top 16. So everybody that's a host site is actually a national seed now, as opposed to it just being the top 8. So with that being said, the numbers, they just kept it to the top 8 from 1999 all the way to now, even though they've expanded it about 2, 3, 4 years ago to be the top 16. So number one seeds make the number one overall seed making it to the College World Series, making it all the way to Omaha, is 14 times in the last 23 years. Okay, the number one seed has made it overall. Last year, the number one overall seed did not. They didn't even make it out of their own regional because that was Tennessee. They lost in their own regional last year. And with that, only one time has the number one overall seed actually won the whole thing. And again, this is from 1999, and that was 1999 Miami. 2 seeds. The number 2 overall seed has made it to the College World Series 16 times and has won it 3.
That's Florida.
Florida is the number.
Florida's the number 2, aren't they?
Seed. They're the 2 seed. Yes.
Yeah.
They're the number 2 seed. Yep. So, the number 3 seed has made it to Omaha 15 times and has won it twice. And that is Arkansas. Arkansas has never won that national title. So, 4 seed has made it 11 times and has won it once. The 5 seed has made it 13 times and won it twice.
That's LSU. I don't know. I can't remember who the 4 is.
4 is Clemson.
Clemson.
Yes.
Yeah.
6, 7, and 8 have each made it 11 times each and have 0 titles.
6 is Vandy.
Yes.
7's
Virginia.
And 8 is Stanford.
Correct.
Yeah. Hey, I'm telling you, I went through I've been looking at some of this stuff.
But just to kind of go through, like, this is what's happened since 1999. These are the stats of where they were seated and who won. I
wanted to get your take on how many 2 seeds that are listed as 2 seeds in these regions. How many do you think really have a shot to make it out of the region?
So you're talking about 2 seeds in the region. How many of them actually have a shot to win the whole thing?
So Tennessee is in there with Clemson, and Clemson's number 4. I mean, they're the number 1 in their region, number 4 overall. I think Tennessee.
We actually have math on that too.
I think Tennessee could possibly upset and knock off Clemson.
They could. So since 1999, we're gonna go back to doing this math since 1999 because that's where the regional, super regional, the format of 64 teams has come into play. So in that time, a 1 seed over 23 tournaments, one seed has won it 17 times. So a 1 seed in a regional. So they were 1 seed in the regional. So whoever was a regional host 17 times as a regional host won the whole thing outright in the last 23 tournaments. A 2 seed has won it twice. A 3 seed has won it 3 times.
I know Mississippi done it last year.
Ole Miss was one of those. They were the most recent. They did it last year. Yes.
Yeah.
A 4 seed has won it 1 time.
Fresno State.
2008 Fresno State.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Against Georgia. So, yes.
Yeah. You taught me that one.
Yep.
I didn't know that.
Yep. So, they're the only ones in the last, like I said, 23 tournaments to have done this. But everybody else has been a 1 seed. 17 times has a 1 seed done it. So when you start looking at it and you start going through a bracket and you start trying to figure out who you think is going to win the whole thing, chances are it's a 1 seed in one of these host sites. So it's one of the hosts of a host site is going to come out as your national champion. Now, for the most part, it's going to be a top 4 seed or a top 5 seed that's going to do it. So, howsoever, I'm the idiot that just picked a 6 seed to win the whole thing. So,
Vandy.
I picked Vandy to win it. So,
I haven't done picks and all that stuff. I'm not there yet.
So we can even go through my bracket here. In the Winston-Salem one that we're actually talking about, I have Maryland actually coming out of it. I actually have Wake Forest not winning their own regional. So,
region as a top seed, huh?
Mm-hmm. I have Maryland doing it. I have Maryland winning against Northeastern, then winning the first game against Wake Forest, and then waiting until Sunday night and coming back and beating Wake Forest again.
All right. So then the next one under that, let's go to that. You got Alabama's region.
So now you're going to the 16 region, which is Alabama, and you have Alabama, Nicholls State, Troy, and Boston College. Again, I have the number 2 seed Boston College winning this region. So I've got Alabama while they've been hot. I have them fizzling out right here.
Okay, because Alabama has played well lately.
Correct. Yeah. And that is the Tuscaloosa Regional. So we can go over to the Gainesville, Florida Regional. Right here, we got Florida A&M, Texas Tech, and UConn. And UConn has been actually pretty good. But I am going to go Florida winning that regional. UConn will be the runner-up in that regional. And I think it's basically just going to go chalk there, 1, 2, 3, 4. As far as the order of finish in that regional.
And then the 15 is South Carolina.
Right. And
15 overall.
Carolina. Right. So honestly, I don't think South Carolina is going to survive the regional. They have way too many people that have been out at the end of the season, and they've been spiraling down since.
They have.
I'm actually surprised.
Campbell has actually played pretty well this year.
And I actually have Campbell winning that regional with NC State actually being the runner-up in that regional, which means South Carolina is going to finish no higher than 3rd in their own regional.
So you think Campbell wins the first game and North Carolina knocks off South Carolina?
I've got Campbell winning against NC State in game 1. And then I've got South Carolina beating Central Connecticut State in their game 1, and then Campbell beating South Carolina, and then South Carolina
losing to
losing
NC
to
State.
NC State on Sunday,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
first game Sunday. Yep.
Right.
And then Campbell beating NC State in the second game on Sunday.
Right. I got you.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah, I got you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So then the other top half of those, we'll go over to the other one where we were. So you got Miami, they're a host region, and they've got Maine, Louisiana, and Texas as the two.
So I struggled with this one because this was the last one that I picked, and I went ahead and said Miami was going to win it, and Texas as the runner-up, basically just going chalk in this regional. But I really did consider Texas to win it, but I just went ahead and just said that Miami would win this one.
All right, and then under that you got the 8 overall with Stanford playing San Jose State, Cal State Fullerton as the 3, and Texas A&M as the 2. And Texas A just come on like at the very end, like they were playing terrible.
Right. I'm going with Texas A&M is going to actually run out of gas in this regional here. So the top 2 teams are going to be Stanford and Cal State Fullerton. It's going to be Stanford and Cal State Fullerton. And I just, like right now, it's just a coin flip today. Right now, I've got Cal State Fullerton winning it. But before this bracket actually has to be turned in, I might switch it to Stanford. But it's going to be between those 2.
Okay. So, that's good stuff because Cal State Fullerton's got a pretty good team as well.
Yes, they do.
And Texas A&M has turned on, made it to the finals of the SEC tournament, but they had not had a great season. They were preseason top like 6 or something, but they just hadn't had a great season.
Yeah, I'm just not sure about what they'll do. So then we go over to
then
Conway.
We're gonna go. Yep. So you got Coastal Carolina, who is like 9. Were they 9? Yeah, that's what I thought.
I believe so.
Ryder.
No, Miami was 9. Coastal is 10.
10. Okay.
Yeah, they're 10. They're 10.
Okay. All right. So Coastal, Ryder, UNC. I think it's UNC Wilmington, right?
Yes.
The W. Yeah.
Yep.
That's what I just wanted to make sure. But and Duke.
You're right. And Duke.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm not really sure what Ryder is, but just about everybody is in the Carolinas over here. So I've got Coastal winning.
This one must be played in Greensboro. No, I'm just kidding. That's a basketball joke.
I got Coastal. I've got Coastal winning it, and I've got Duke as the runner-up in that regional. So just playing chalk right there.
Yeah, I mean, Coastal's, got a good team, and I mean, I would, if I was picking, I would probably want to pick them as well.
Right.
And then you got Virginia, Army, West Point, Oklahoma, and East Carolina as the 2, and East Carolina has got a pretty good team as well.
Yeah, East Carolina's got a pretty good team, and I actually went with Virginia winning the thing, but Oklahoma as the runner-up in this. So East Carolina would be 3, Army would be 4.
Okay.
In that regional. Yep.
All right, so that covers the top half of the bracket.
Correct. Yep.
So then we'll go down to the bottom part. I guess we'll start with the LSU side. And LSU is the 5 overall seed.
Right.
And they are playing Tulane, got Sam Houston, and Oregon State in Baton Rouge.
And while LSU's pitching is been up and down and been suspect, I think they can survive this particular deal. But if anybody knocks out any of their starters early, then they are in trouble. So I don't think that
you got Skeens that they can count on. Sure, I would think.
Right, but I don't think they'll throw Skeens game 1. I bet they'll throw Skeens game 2 because that'll be the game where they're expecting to play Oregon State. So I bet you they throw. They reverse and they throw whoever their Saturday guy is in game 1.
They probably will. You're probably right about that.
Skeens game 2, and then the hope to just throw everybody. Everybody's available game 3. And the way you do and hope your bats are out, alive.
So you
and
think
absolutely
LSU
just
survives
murder
the
'em.
region? I mean, listen.
Yeah, I think
I
so.
think LSU fans will go crazy if they can't even win their own region after being number
I
one
think so too,
most
especially
season.
being
Yeah.
right. And again,
Yeah.
the bullpen is their problem, and they just need to make sure that they're hitting the ball. Because if their offense is clicking, then it really almost doesn't matter what their pitching is doing. And so I think that's what they really need to be able to do is just absolutely murder the ball. And they've got the bats to do it. They've got the lineup to do it. They just have to be all on at the same time.
Right.
So the next one will be the Lexington region.
Yeah. Then we got Kentucky's region.
Yep. So you got Kentucky, Ball State, Indiana, and West Virginia. And honestly, I've got this one finishing up as as chalk. So I've got Kentucky winning that region. So you'll
Kentucky,
have an all SEC.
I'm pretty sure I know they played Indiana, and I think they played Ball State as well. I think I know they had a Senate and swept it.
Yeah,
that was early.
Probably played Ball State in midweek games. And
they did.
Probably played Ball State in midweek games. Yeah.
I think they did.
I think they will. I think their only trouble will be if they can get past West Virginia, and I think they'll be able to do that. So
cool. So I like to hear that. Kentucky fans will be happy to hear that. That's on with me. So we got Vandy, and they
Vandy
are the number 6 seed overall, and they got Eastern Illinois, Xavier, and Oregon in their bracket. In their region.
With what I've said earlier, so you better know that I'm actually
Josh. It's not a single elimination. Josh is asking if it's a single elimination. It's not.
It's double elimination for the regionals, and then it is a best 2 out of 3 for super regionals, and then it's an 18 double elimination tournament for the College World Series. But then when you have the final 2 teams,
to the final. It's 2 out of 3.
And then when you get the final, it's a best 2 out of 3. So you have a 3-game series. The best 2. You win the first 2, you win it. So, but I've got Vanderbilt winning the national regional, and again, I think this is going to finish chalk with Vanderbilt, Oregon, and then Xavier, then Eastern Illinois.
All right.
So then we go down to the Stillwater.
Yep.
Regional. So you've got Oklahoma
Roberts,
State,
Washington,
and Dallas Baptist. And I've got here Dallas Baptist winning the regional, beating Oklahoma State.
Okay, that sounds like I like that could probably happen.
Yep.
Then you go over to your region.
Yep, to the Auburn region.
Auburn.
Yep.
The Auburn region. I said yours because Auburn.
Yeah.
Alum and fan.
Right. So Auburn. You got Auburn, Pennsylvania, Samford, and Southern Miss. Penn, if you just want to recall, Penn early in the season took 2 out of 3 at Alabama. So just to kind of refresh everybody's memory, they are the 4 seed in this tournament, in this regional. Samford, I believe Auburn handled Samford well during the season. I can't remember, but Samford did play very well in the conference tournament. They won their conference tournament and got the automatic bid. They won 3 games in one day to do it. So just so you know. They got the 3 seed. Southern Miss is a 2 seed. Southern Miss has always been pretty good. So Auburn, I think this one will finish chalk. Auburn 1, Southern Miss 2, Samford 3, Penn 4.
Okay.
And then
under them you got Clemson
against the Clemson.
Yep, you got Clemson, Lipscomb, Charlotte, so and Clemson, Tennessee. Yep.
Right. And
this is the all orange.
This one is going to be one where right.
This is the all orange.
Well, except for Charlotte. Charlotte's not orange.
I know. I'm just messing.
Charlotte's the only one. Charlotte doesn't have orange. They're just green and white. But anyway, I've got Clemson winning the regional. Again, this is one of those that I could flip a coin and try to and figure out whether Tennessee is going to do it. but I have Clemson doing it.
So
right
Tennessee
now.
doesn't get out of the region again after being the number 1 overall seed last year. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
This one right here, they're just a 2 seed in the region. They're not even in the top
Right.
16.
Right. I got you.
Right.
But they
And
were
then-
preseason. They were thought to be.
Yes, they were.
All right. So then we're going to go over to Indiana State's. I think they are the 14. Are they number 14? I believe.
Yeah. So 14 is Indiana State, 15 was South Carolina, and 16 was Alabama. So yeah, 14.
Yeah.
They're the 14 seed.
All right. So
Yep.
Indiana State, Wright State, North Carolina, and Iowa is their bracket.
Right. So I don't know
There's
too much
region
about
side.
Iowa baseball. North Carolina is usually pretty good. Wright State's usually, fairly decent at this, and I don't know a ton about Indiana State other than they were good enough to be a host. So I have North Carolina winning this one. I could be dead wrong, but I went North Carolina with Iowa as a second. I think Indiana State will be pumped that they're hosting, but I don't think they're going to do much with it.
All right. And then we're going to finish
probably-
up with Arkansas.
Yeah. Look, TCU is really good. Arkansas just knows how to win. Okay. So Arkansas doesn't have the offensive stats to wow anybody, but they just know how to win. And they win with, great pitching and timely hitting. And I think with the, 10 to 15,000, people, person crowd that's going to be there. That place is going to be sold out. It's going to be loud. And outside of TCU that might have played in an environment like that, even Arizona in the West, while baseball is really, can be really good, they still don't draw crowds like what Arkansas is about to bring. Okay.
Santa Clara,
So,
you would think
yeah.
they would have a good baseball program out there.
yeah, good baseball program, but still doesn't mean that they draw crowds. They don't
Right.
have like sellouts of 15.
I just meant their first round matchup. You would think Santa Clara would
Right.
be
They're going to be good, but they're not.
a decent team.
Well, yes. Everybody that's in this tournament is going to be pretty good, pretty decent. So, because you can look at some of the teams that missed the tournament and go, ooh,
Right.
there's some teams that are really good that missed.
And TCU's had a pretty good year out of
so-
the Big 12 as well. So, pretty
Right.
decent.
Right. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, that puts us with matchups with Maryland versus Boston College, Miami versus Cal State Fullerton, LSU versus Kentucky, Auburn versus Clemson, and on the other side we have Florida versus Campbell, Coastal Carolina versus Virginia. We have Vanderbilt versus Dallas Baptist, and North Carolina versus Arkansas in the super regionals. That would be what we would have in the super
And the
regionals.
Super Regional is a 2 out of 3 series, right?
It is. It's a 2 out of 3, and the only one where I wouldn't have a guaranteed site because of the fact of who's won these games. The only one that I would be kind of questioning as to where they would actually play it is the Maryland Boston College. If in fact Maryland faces Boston College in the super regional, I wouldn't know exactly where that site would be at because Boston College is a 2 seed, Maryland's a 2 seed. So I would think that it would be at Maryland because Maryland is at the 2 seed of the 1 seed versus the 2 seed of the 16 seed. So I would think it's at Maryland, but that's my initial guess is that it would be played in Maryland. Everywhere else, it's pretty clear cut. If we had Miami, Cal State Fullerton, it's in Miami. If we had LSU, Kentucky, it's in LSU. If we had Auburn versus Clemson, it's in Clemson. If we've got Florida versus Campbell, it's at Florida. If we've got Coastal versus Virginia, it's at Virginia. And if we've got Vanderbilt, Dallas Baptist, it's Vanderbilt. And if we've got North Carolina versus Arkansas, it's at Arkansas. So, So
And that'll get us through the first weekend here and into the second weekend with the matchups that you're talking about now.
Correct.
That would be the second weekend,
Right.
and the super regional round.
Yeah.
So that kind of concludes our preview for the opening round and the opening rounds, I guess I should say, and the opening weekend for college baseball. Do y'all call that the road to Omaha? Do you call it the?
Yeah, road to Omaha. That'll work.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in this,
Because it's not technically the College World Series yet. So I want to say that, but it's not.
So in this setting that I've got already in the first weekend, I would have, out of the 10 teams that the SEC is bringing to regionals, I've got at least 3, I believe, that are going to lose in week 1, the first weekend. Let me count and see how many have I got left. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I had 4 losing in the first weekend.
Okay.
I had South Carolina, Alabama.
6 out of 10.
Yes. Yeah. South Carolina and Alabama being the 2 host teams to not make it out. And then A&M and Tennessee were the 2 teams that they didn't make it out of their own regional as well.
Okay.
But they were number 2 seeds. So, yeah. Yep.
All right, John, I appreciate you being on with me. We ran the time here, but I knew that we kind of run close there, but I appreciate being on with me and doing this baseball stuff. If you can be next Thursday and do the baseball stuff with me, it'd be great. Jason's been joining me on Tuesdays, and we've been doing fun with that with Tuesdays, so I'm good there. But we will maybe be on Sunday and kind of wrap some of this up, but I'm not real sure. So
okay,
I know we won't be on in a couple of weeks for when Father's Day happens on a Sunday. I know for sure. So anyways, we are College SportsCast. We have covered some basketball and Kentucky stuff, and we've covered NBA decisions. We've covered some SEC football schedule talk that I opened the show with, and we have covered college baseball. So I hope you guys enjoyed the show. John, I appreciate you being back, and we will see you on either Sunday or Tuesday.